How's it going, everybody? Roseman here with another Decklist video. Today I'll be covering the deck list of OP06 Green Yellow Yamato. This is a 5k leader that has double attack and activate main ability. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, give up to 2 Rested Dawn cards to one of your characters. So this whole deck is going to be about, hitting heavy and hitting fast. So looking at some really cool, interesting cards there. We're going to set our leader off to the side and dive on into it. First thing is we're going to run 4 copies of Starter Deck 28 Yamato character. This is a 1 cost, 0 power character. It does have 1k encounter. It has a Dawn times 2 effect. During your turn, this character gains plus 3k power. And on play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Land of Wano type card with a cost of 2 or more, and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This is going to be your searcher. You're going to be using this to pull a lot of really good stuff. It also does have that utility. Obviously, you can use your leader ability to send 2 Dawn to it and give it that plus 3k power, so it then becomes a 5k swing. Not super great late game, but early game it can be really good, especially if you can get that first swing on turn 2 to connect with your leader and make your opponent take 2 life, because if they're at a 5, it brings them to a 3. If they're a 4, it brings them down to 2. So next, we're going to have 4 copies of Starter Deck 28 Izo. This is a 2 cost, 1k power with 1k counter. Dawn times 2, this character gains blocker. On play, your Land of Wano type leader gains Banish during this turn. Can be a very good one in the mid to late, to be able to give your leader Banish, and then when you hit that double attack, bam bam, they've lost 2 cards. They could lose some really good utility out of that. So that's going to be one of the targets you're going to probably want to look for in your Yamato if you don't already have it in hand. Next, we have the OP06 Onami, 2 cost, 3k power, 1k encounter. On play, up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains Banish during this turn. This also has a trigger where you can KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So a removal trigger, which is very strong, the ability to give your leader Banish or a character Banish during the turn. Plus, if your opponent is within that 3 Dawn or 3 life range, you can use the 2 Dawn you used for either this or Izo and move them onto another character. So that's pretty cool. Again, we run 4 copies of this Onami. Next up, we have our 2Ks, 2K counters, I should say. First one we have is the OP06 Kozuki Hiyori. It's a 2 cost, 0 power, 2k counter. On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, then add 1 card from your hand to the top of your life. So using this Hiyori, you can load a trigger into the top of your life. Very, very strong, very cool. If you're down in the late game and you're down to low life, you can also technically be loading it to your bottom life, if your bottom life is also your top life. So we have 4 copies of that. Next, we have 4 copies of OP11 Izo. It's a 3 cost, 3k with 2k counter. On play, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. This can be used to rest some of those low-cost blockers, or maybe a low mid-range character that you're trying to get off the board if it's kind of being a nuisance. Also, it being a 2k counter, it's great as well. So we have 4 of those. Next, we have 4 copies of Starter Deck 28 Kinemon. 4 cost, 5k, and obviously a 2k counter. It is a vanilla, but it does have a trigger. If your leader has the Land of Wano type and your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you play this card. So this is a really cool one to get on board because you can get a 5k body out if you've loaded it into your life with your Hiyori. or if it's just in life natively. Otherwise, yeah, it's a 5K body. It's a solid one. Plus, he's a 2K counter. So we have 4 copies of that. Next, we're going into our 1K counters. We have 3 copies of Starter Deck 21 Ashura Doji. It is a 3-cost 3K, 1K counter. On play, if your leader has the Land of Wano type and your opponent has 3 or more life cards, you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 5 or less. So that's pretty cool. You can get a KO off of this card, and then it's also a 1K counter. So that one's pretty solid as well. Next, we have 3 copies of OP04 Tonoyasu. He is a 2-cost 2K with a 1K counter. It has an activate main ability. You may trash this character, and up to one of your Land of Wano type leader or character cards gains 3K power during this turn. So for 2 Dawn, you can play this character, use the leader's ability to throw those 2 Dawn onto something else, and then trash this and give your leader 3K power. That is crazy value out of this card that I don't see a lot of people running in lists like for this Yamato leader. I love it. I think he can be super strong. So I have 3 copies of that. Next, we're going to go into some of our no counter cards. We have 4 copies of OP06 Kikunojo. It's a 4-cost 6K power. On KO, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. And it has a trigger. If your opponent has 3 or less life cards, play this card. Super good one out of trigger. Super good one just to get on board because your opponents probably not want to swing into it to give you that life. So it's pretty sticky. Any kind of KO will do that. So if it's KO'd by battle, if it's KO'd by an effect, if it's KO'd by an event, all of that will trigger her on KO. Do note that if you're playing like a blue character and they have cards that send it to trash, that won't trigger it because it's send to trash. You also may see some like send to bottom deck that also doesn't trigger her on KO. But regardless, we still want to run her. It's a good body, solid, and that trigger is really cool if you can load it with Hiyori pretty early in game. So that's great right there. Again, we have 4 copies of that. Next, we have 3 copies of OP06 Kozuki Momonosuke. He is a 5-cost 6K blocker. And on play, you add one of your Land of Wano type characters other than Kozuki Momonosuke to the top or bottom of the owner's life cards face up. So you can use this to send, like a Kitamon back, or if you have an Onami on board, you can send that back to life, so it can be a trigger, or you can just get it back in hand. You can also send a Kikunojo back, so you can get some utility out of this guy. Plus, he's a good 6K body as a blocker, so we'd love to see that. Next, we have 3 copies of Starter Deck 28 Kozuki Momonosuke. This is a 6-cost 7K. On your turn, if you have 2 or less life cards, your leader gains plus 1K power. And then activate main. You may return 2 total of your currently given Dawn cards to your cost area rested. This character gains rush and 1000 power during this turn. It's important to note that you can get his activate main off of Dawn that you've manually put onto one of your characters. So if you've just put 2 Dawn onto a character, you can use his ability to send them back as rested, and you'll get the plus 1K for the turn on your on this character as well as the rush. If you sent Dawn to one of your characters with your leader's ability and you use this one to send them back, it achieves the same thing. It is also important to note that you can do this even on the turns it's not played and get that extra 1K power. So sequencing can be very important when it comes to this card. So we have 3 of these. And our last character, we have 4 copies of OP06 Hody Jones. 7-cost 8K power. This card has rush, and on play, you rest up to a total of 2 of your opponent's characters or Dawn cards. There is no cost requirements for the characters, so just any characters. and then you add one card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Couple things to note with this: it does get rush regardless of if the on play is active or not. So if you're playing a Blackbeard, this card will always have rush. You just don't have to worry about taking a life. You still have to take a life even if you don't rest any of your opponent's characters, because the rest up to 2 of your total opponent's characters or Dawn is not a bold text, so it's not a qualifier, meaning you will perform the second part of the card regardless. But if you have no life and you play this, you can still rest cards and not have to take a life because you have no life to take. So there's a couple things about that, a little nuancy, but once you get the hang of using it, if you haven't already used it in the past, super good utility card. Absolutely love Hody Jones. He is a game changer. Again, we have 4 copies of him. And lastly, we'll go ahead and get into our events for this deck. First, we run 3 copies of OP11 Demonic Aura 9 Sword Style Asura Demon 9 Flash. This is a 2-cost event with a main. Up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3k power during this turn. Then you may rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost. You may rest one of your characters with a cost of 3 or more. If you do, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. This also has a trigger to rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. This is really good because you can get the 3k power and then it can rest some of your opponent's stuff if you need to. Obviously, this needs to be a minimum of a cost 3 that you rest on your side, and as you can tell by most of the cards we run, that's not too much of a problem. So really good there. You can use that as a utility to rest some of your opponent's low cost blockers if necessary. And the last card we run, we have 3 copies of OP06 You're the One Who Should Disappear, 0 cost event. On counter, you may trash 1 card from your hand. Up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3k power during this battle. This also has a trigger of, if you have 0 life, you may add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards, then trash 1 from your hand. So it's important to note that if you are at low life, and say you have 1 life, and you play that Hiyori, and you have one of these in hand, you absolutely can load this into the top of your life using that Hiyori's ability, because the Hiyori does not qualify. It needs to be a Land of Wano card. So, super good one. I recommend that in just about every yellow deck there is, because, well, it's a 0 cost counter, but that trigger is just ungodly and it can save you in many circumstances. With that being said, that is my deck list. If you guys like this list, please like the video. If you have questions or ideas of things you would like to see changed or things that you would run differently if you build this deck, please leave in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys and discuss what's going on. And then if you aren't already, please subscribe. I have plenty of other deck lists already posted, and I have plenty more to come. Thanks, guys. See ya.